We're going to get into some trade targets and candidates for the Browns in just a moment, but we are closing in on 13,000 subscribers here at the channel, and here's what I did. I went over to our Steelers guy, Jeremy Beadling, here at Chat Sports, and I said, if the Browns get to 13K subs before kickoff on Sunday, 387-ish away, I get to get a spatula from the kitchen and slap you silly. His response, let me pull up right here. There is no way in hell the Browns are ever going to get together and pull off anything like that. The Steelers own you. So I'm going to leave it to you guys. If you hate the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to see me slap a Steelers guy with a spatula, go ahead and hit that big red button to subscribe. Today's Cleveland Browns report is sponsored by Mint Mobile. You might have already seen some of their ads. They are owned by famous actor Ryan Reynolds, and he is cutting down your cell phone plan. If you are spending way too much month to month and you want to get monthly rates as low as $15 a month, make the change right now. mintmobile.com/chatsports. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Plus, we will tell you more about their awesome benefits later on in the show. Now, speaking of the show, we're going to look at 3 trade ideas I've seen around the internet. I came up with myself, kind of connecting some dots. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to do this, involving the Cleveland Browns, of course. Some of these trades, sending people away. Some trades, bringing bodies in. So, first trade we're going to look at here. Kenny Golladay to the Cleveland Browns. This is sort of my own idea. I don't think it's a bold claim to make that Kenny Golladay is likely done. In fact, our New York Giants now host, Marshall Green, just walked in, and he has punted on Kenny Golladay. What a great signing that was by Dave Gettleman. Now, Golladay has really seen his numbers decrease through 3 weeks so far. In fact, in week 2, he was practically benched. The guy only played in 2 snaps. He played more in week 3 on Monday night. He had a bad drop at the end of the game that pretty much summed up his career. Now, Golladay was awesome with the Lions. No one really saw this coming. Over 3,000 yards, Northern Illinois guy, under the radar, 21 touchdowns. That was incredible. He has yet to score with the Giants through a season and change right now. Only 39 receptions for 543 yards. Now, the finances behind this and any trade we will look at today can be a bit confusing because, yes, Golladay would likely carry in the neighborhood of $9 million depending on when the trade happens. Every week that goes by, his base salary goes down because the Giants give him a paycheck. So, base salary going down, that's less a new team would have to owe him. Now, the Giants are going to be on the hook for a lot of dead money. They might want to try and get a better draft pick by eating more of that dead money because they've got no one else on their books that's costing them all that much they can't afford to do. So like Von Miller last year, for example, when he was traded from the Broncos to the Rams sent some good picks back, but the Broncos ate his entire salary for that season. So the numbers for every trade you see can change drastically depending on where you're looking. Now, it is important to note, what do the Browns have to offer in a trade? Whether it's Kenny Golladay or anyone else. I know if you didn't memorize the numbers, your first inkling might be the Browns have no picks. They gave up all those picks for Deshaun Watson. Not really. They still got 8 picks this upcoming draft. They just don't have a first. They have a second. They have a third comp pick from the NFL after Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was hired by the Vikings. They've got a fourth. They made a trade with the Vikings last draft to get Jerome Ford. That's a fourth from Minnesota. Troy Hill got the Browns a 5th. They've got their own 6th, and they have their own 7th as well. So the Browns definitely can make some moves in the trade market. Can't offer a first, but there's no one out there even worth a first-round pick. So here is my trade idea. The Browns get Kenny Golladay and a future 6th-round pick in exchange for one of their 2 5th-round picks this year. The Giants will be lucky to find anyone who would take Kenny Golladay off their hands, and the whole league knows this. So they're not going to get a top pick for, at one point, was an NFL leading receiver in touchdowns. So the Browns, I think, could get him for relatively cheap. The question is, you really want him because he has been cheeks with the Giants the last year and change. Now, I want you all to be the GM here. Should the Browns trade for a receiver, whether it's Kenny Golladay, Denzel Mims, Darius Slayton? There's a lot of names on the trading block. Let me know if you think Andrew Berry needs to go out and get another receiver. All right, here we go. On to an idea that sends someone out of the building, and that is the most cliche and the most popular name in terms of NFL and Browns trade rumor circles, DErnest Johnson. Now, this trade idea comes to us from Pro Football Focus, where they've got him going to the LA Rams. And we'll get to that more in just a second. But Mint Mobile, our proud sponsor today, has an awesome deal for you guys. All right, start saving right now. Make the change. When you go to mintmobile.com/chatsports, that's where you can get started with two great things. One, cell phone plan starting as low as $15 a month. Two, you can make the change from your couch, from your kitchen, wherever you watch college football on Saturday or NFL on Sunday. Don't waste that day by going into your cell phone provider store. No, thanks to new eSIM technology, you can do it all from the comfort of your own home. That link is in the comments and the description. Make the change and start saving money and stop overpaying thanks to Mint Mobile. So, the DErnest Johnson trade idea, like I said, comes from Pro Football Focus. They did this in their write-up, and they've got it pretty cut and dry. Johnson to the Rams for a 2023 6th-round pick. We know the Rams are full-on F them picks mode, so it wouldn't put it past me that they would make a trade for a running back. Now, here's my one hiccup to this. The Rams kind of got burned once on a trade for a running back. When they got Sony Michel last year, he was not worth the 2 picks they gave up. Will they have learned their lesson? I would think so. Now, as for just trading Johnson in general, whether it's to the Rams or to another team, DErnest Johnson, who has only played 15 snaps all season, all coming on special teams in Week 3 against Pittsburgh, if he's just going to be inactive on Sunday and ride the bench, why not test the trade market? Which I am sure Andrew Berry has either made phone calls or listened to phone calls. Now, I can't positively say whether or not he turned down trades because they were not big enough for him or whatever. But at this point, Johnson, he does offer you a lot of great things. But if he's just going to ride the bench, I think it's worth going out and getting a draft pick for him. So here are the pros and cons to trading DErnest Johnson. Pro, you get a pick, like I said, for someone who has basically not played all season, right? For you to find a pick in someone who is not going to touch the field, that's a huge win right there. The con is the whole reason why the Browns are somewhat hesitant to trade him. He has a great insurance policy. Last year when he filled in on Thursday night in the Patriots game in Week 18 against the Bengals, he put up fantastic numbers. So if something were to happen to Chubb or Hunt, Johnson would be the best possible backup you could have. But then I get to my final pro. That's Jerome Ford. He makes trading DErnest Johnson a lot easier. Because I don't think Andrew Berry or Kevin Stefanski are going to stay up at night, not getting a wink of sleep, worrying about Jerome Ford if he were to have to play one Sunday. He looked great in the preseason. It makes trading Johnson that much easier because the next man up has been great so far. So what say you? Should the Browns trade DErnest Johnson? This has been the biggest trade candidate for the Browns pretty much all season long. Let me know what you guys are thinking. T for trade or P for pass. I'm all for trading him if he's just going to ride the bench this year. Third trade idea. Someone coming to Cleveland. That would be a former top pick, Clelin Ferrell from Clemson. Shout out the Brown Tiger. Now, Clelin Ferrell has been very disappointing. This is not new information for the Raiders. And Bleacher Report loves coming up with trade ideas, and one of their latest trade ideas was Farrell going to the Browns. Now, the Raiders have been rumored to be looking into trading Farrell pretty much since the day they drafted him. It's been that bad. He had a decent rookie season, 4.5 sacks, but especially with the new regime in there, which, by the way, cut the first-round pick Alex Leatherwood last year, they are not holding on to any top picks from the previous disaster regime of Mayock and Gruden. Now, the Browns, they could use some help at defensive line. Whether or not Clelin Ferrell is going to come in here and light the world on fire, That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for someone who can keep the ship afloat and keep some pass rush going if Myles Garrett and Clowney are going to miss some serious time, as they both are dealing with injuries at the moment. Especially with Winovich already on IR, you're looking at a third-round pick in Alex Wright, who was supposed to be a developmental pick, right? Isaiah Thomas, a seventh-round pick, who had some good flashes in preseason, but it was also against teams who... It was against tackles who are no longer on rosters. And then Isaac Rochelle, who's a practice squad guy, and no discredit to him, but I think you would be more comfortable with some extra depth right there. I'm not even saying Farrell could walk in here and start on this Browns roster above Wright and Thomas and Rochelle, but it's worth at least looking into if you want to add some extra depth. So here's my trade idea. Browns get Farrell, Raiders get a seventh-round pick, a bag of footballs. If Farrell costs anything at all, I'm not interested. If Farrell costs someone a roster spot, I'm not interested. But if a player goes on IR and the Raiders are just begging you to take this player off their hands and you're already thin at defensive line, I think it's worth picking up the phone and seeing if this trade is worth investing. Now, before we let you guys go, I want to grow my Twitter game a little bit. So if you have not interacted with me on Twitter yet, please do so by tweeting at me, DMing me your best trade ideas. Dion Owens is the trade guru here at the channel, challenging you all to come up with your own trade ideas and tweet them at me. I'll grade them. I'll give you my responses and takes on them at Matthew Petey, my Twitter handle, that link in the comments and the description of today's show.